When I was a little girl, I'm from Michigan. When I was a little girl growing up in Michigan, I remember spending a lot of time up in the trees. We used to play many made-up games like Cave Dweller and Fashion Designers. We would cut up newspapers and dress ourselves and our dolls in our own fashion designs. And I also played marbles in a big dirt circle. And store. I remember playing store a lot. And one day we were sitting in one of those trees, and I said, we can use the leaves as money to buy stuff. Isn't that great? There's going to be enough for everyone. In retrospect, I suppose it's a good idea that we don't use leaves for money, but the idea has merit. First, the earth gives enough food, water, and shelter for everyone. And it's given as a gift. It is we who have created a system where not everybody gets enough. And more research shows that the plundering of, the withholding of, and the inequitable distribution of resources is costing us a great deal. Monetarily, morally, ecologically, and spiritually. We are, in this year of 2015, experiencing three great divides. First is the divide between what the earth gives and offers and provides and what we plunder, take, and consume. We take 150% of the earth's resources, which is 50% more than what she has. Is that sustainable?
No.
Is that sustainable?
No.
So this is the first great divide, the ecological divide. The second great divide is between people of different religious beliefs, between races, between genders, and the economic divide between classes, between those who have money and resources and those without. It's the whole us and them thing, the second great divide. The third great divide is between self, individual self, and the collective self, or the universal consciousness, or the divine self. This is a spiritual divide. Most religions teach about the spiritual dangers of the ego and the sense of self as separate from everyone, or the sense of self as more important than everyone else. But what happens to some of us, in fact, happens to all of us. We will not be able to escape our interconnectedness, and it will save us, or we will perish as our earth perishes. Okay then, as they say in Minnesota. Okay then. Hold up. Perish is such a strong word, and furthermore, it is not festive. This is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and we were hoping for something more Thanksgiving-ish. At least I am hoping for something more Thanksgiving-ish, but I can't escape those three great divides. I hold them in all parts of my being, in my mind, in my heart, my body. I hold those three great divides. I know that we can't wish for the kind of world we want. We must be the kind of world we want. Can we wish for the kind of world we want?
No.
We must be the kind of world we want. So today, rather than focus on a practice of gratitude and thanks, which is often associated with the Thanksgiving holiday, I want to focus on the giving part. I want to focus on something small, which is within our grasp, and also has the power to transform the three great divides. Today my message is about growing and exercising the kindness muscle, the gift-giving muscle. The practice I hope that you will take away with you today is practicing acts of kindness. First of all, when you find ways of offering small acts of kindness to others, you will experience a quieting of the mind. Small acts of kindness create a quieting of the mind. You benefit, and the kindness that you give has a ripple out effect. Then, when others do the same, when others on a personal level offer small acts of kindness, those also ripple out. Then you have these ripples connecting with each other, which creates small gift economies. This often happens in families where you give stuff to each other, but you don't keep track. There's not an accounting. As this gift economy grows, where I take care of you and you take care of the next person, we create a macro gift economy. We transform economy into ecology. Here's an example of this. Think back to Hurricane Katrina. Big, gusty, ripping winds, a broken levee, flood water everywhere. Everything was swept away. Houses crumpled and upside down. Telephone and electricity poles like logs heading down to the mill. Cars floating on their sides. Everything was wiped out. Everything except the oak trees. They had deep roots. Yes, they did. But it wasn't just that they had deep roots. Their individual deep roots were connected to other deep roots of other oak trees. And those other oak trees were connected to other oak trees, sometimes for a span of over 100 miles. So this big hurricane comes and turns everything upside down, just like sometimes happens in our lives. I'm shaken up. I can't handle it on my own, but I've got these roots. And everyone starts to give a little bit. And all of a sudden, I've got this incredible resilience. That is the gift ecology. And it fosters our ability to be resilient to all that comes up for us, for the suffering that comes our way individually and collectively. How do we create this? How do we become part of this gift ecology? What is the small part, the small, simple part that I can do? The first step is quite simple. Go out and practice kindness. Not occasionally, but every day. Take the 30-day challenge. The second step takes you to the second level. Connect with other people that are doing acts of kindness. That could easily happen amongst some of you in this very room. The third level is to take these joined ripples and arcs out into the world. I can't stand here and tell you what that would look like for you, but I can share stories about people that practice the gift economy and strengthen that muscle inside themselves and create ripples and roots and connect with other ripples and roots. There's a rickshaw driver in India who will drive people around at no charge. At the end of the ride, they say, well, how much do I owe you for the ride? Just pay what you are moved to offer. And then every week or every month, he reviews his logs, and he gets what he is pretty close to what he would have gotten if he would have charged the standard going rate, if he had used a transaction-based model. So when people hear this story, they say, oh, great, I'm so glad it's working out for you. And the driver says, wait, let me show you this other log. He has another log where he records how people feel when they ride in his rickshaw. This has become an incredible value what they receive and they experience, we do not measure or account for in our current dollars and cents ecology. They feel good when they are riding in his rickshaw. This guy is not some millionaire gift giver. This guy is a regular guy who helps to create a gift economy that is inspiring others to do the same while contributing to the growth of well-being in others. There's an art magazine called Works and Conversations. It comes out in the US and it had been going for 15 years. But the owner, it's kind of like a single guy doing all the work. The owner had decided that he didn't want to spend his time getting advertising anymore, and he didn't know if he could continue. It was becoming a grind. One of his friends said, "What you are doing is too valuable to be sold," which stopped the owner, Richard, in his tracks. And something opened up inside of him. What I'm doing is too valuable to be sold. He goes home and he writes a letter and he sends it out to all the subscribers. And he says, "I'm going to offer you a refund for all the money you paid this year. From now on, I'm not accepting any advertising and I'm only accepting gifts." Gifts of gratitude. Okay, fast forward 7 years. The magazine he loves is doing well, and there's more. His wife says that Richard has never been happier. His subscribers feel more invested in the magazine, and his creativity is flowing like crazy. He says, "I'm not asking anybody for anything. I'm just giving people love." Then there's Wikipedia. It's not perfect, but I find it incredibly useful, and it runs on volunteer power and donations. One more story. How many of you are familiar with the Grateful Dead? All right. Well, they were just a little band from Frisco that played at Ken Kesey's electric Kool-Aid parties in the mid-'60s. They were snapped up by a record company that swooped in 1967 after the Jefferson Airplane had their big hit. They kind of came in and tried to swoop up all the bands just in case. But the Dead never did sell a lot of records for any of the major record labels. And I don't think they had a top 10 hit until Touch of Grey came out 20 years later in 1987. But they have consistently been one of the highest, if not the highest grossing rock bands ever. And in part it has to do with their practice of the gift economy. At every show the Dead play, they set aside a really good area right next to the sound booth for the tapers. The tapers are people that record the shows. The Dead have played more than 2,000 shows. I went to Wikipedia to look that up. And multiple people have made multiple tapes of these shows. And the folks trade these shows with each other. So the Dead are giving this away every day. This has become a huge gift economy. And this generosity of spirit has ended up keeping the interest in the band so high that they continue to make a great living. It seems counterintuitive that giving so much music away could end up generating not just more than enough money to live off of, but so much goodwill as well. So where will you start? If you commit to practicing acts of kindness for 30 days, the first 10 days will be really easy. It's what I like to call the low-hanging fruit of kindness. But folks that do this find that the next 10 days require more creativity, more thought, more effort. And after those 10 days, so after you've been doing this for 20 days, something amazing happens during those next 10 days. Many practitioners of this kindness endeavor find that after 20 days of doing this, the kindness that they offer intuitively have a healing effect on both the folks receiving the kindness and the folks offering the kindness. they find that once their brains run out of ideas for another act of kindness, their intuition kicks in. And wow, amazing things start to happen to both themselves and others. It is as if the kindness vibration seeps into the broken places and the great divides and begins to heal them. Kindness grows, connection grows, ego diminishes, healing happens, and a sense of well-being increases. So as we enter this Thanksgiving and holiday season, I invite you to try the gift-giving experiment on yourself. Perhaps teaming up with a few people here at your church community to keep each other on track and accountable. Because you really do need to do this every day, even on your days off. And you need to have somebody that you're accountable to. It's like having a trainer at the gym. It just really works much better. In Unitarian Universalism, as in Buddhism, there are no guarantees. The Buddha says repeatedly, don't take my word for it, try it on and see for yourself. Observe what happens. I say the same to you. Try it and see. In this experiment, I trust that you will find an antidote to greed and perhaps an antidote to the voices of judgment and cynicism that so many of us carry inside of ourselves. The voices that say, other people are greedy and they will just take advantage of me. And when your kindness ripples out and connects with other kindness ripples, you will generate resilience, hope, and trust. These may be small ripples, but joined together, they will grow enough to bridge and then heal those three great divides. May this Thanksgiving and holiday season be filled with the gifts that you give each other. Blessed be, and amen. I invite you to go ahead and